Playoff season is in full swing. College football, pro football, conference college basketball has started up. The NBA is about midway through, so a lot of sports going on right now. A good time of year, exciting time of year, post-holidays, keeps us energized. I'm going to go into, in this episode, sports betting lines and just how to understand them. Because as common knowledge as it may be for some, many, I think, just don't understand, like the plus, when you see that, what that means, when you see a minus next to a team or a player, what that means, and even terms, like hearing the term player props or betting props, etc., what that all means. So my name's Peter Bartel. Subscribe to my channel, absolutely. Like the episode. That'll help me to know what content to create. And then my handle there on X, follow me there at PigskinPD. Just a sports fan trying to get it out to you guys. So comment in the chat what you think. Share also, if you understand betting, have sports bet before, your biggest wins, your biggest losses, etc. And I'll go through just a bit. I'm going to keep it just like the title of this says, 101. If you want more in depth, etc., there's websites out there. You can Google it. You can message me on X if you want to, and I'll, I may create another episode more in depth if this gets traction, or just respond to you individually. I'm not here to let it be known, give gambling advice necessarily. I don't do it. But I do free stuff. I'll say that, I'm on pick'em leagues and everything like that. So I understand the betting, and it fascinates me, just even though I don't bet, going into a game and watching a game, Notre Dame is favored by one as of right now. And I'll go into this. This is an example I'm going to give, but 1.5 points over Penn State. What would I do? Would I bet on Notre Dame to win that? Would I bet on Penn State to win that? And then ultimately just watching the game throughout, how it turns out. There are also free sites out there for betting, play money, so to speak, if you want to do that as well. I'm going to reference, and I'm about to share a screen here and reference Hard Rock Bets. I'm in the state of Florida right now. So that's the site that I can use per my state. Certain states have different regulations. So FanDuel, I cannot use, for example, being in Florida. There's other ones out there too. I think Prize Picks is another one that's you can do in some states, but not others. It's really all different state to state. I went on the app and looked, and it's you have to, and you also have to, if you're on an app or on your desktop or laptop, you have to prove where you are. You have to allow it to identify your GPS location if you're doing it on your phone, for example, and then it'll detect, okay, you're in Florida, you want to use Hard Rock Bets, that's okay. Oh, you're in Florida, you want to use FanDuel, that's not okay, and it's not going to let you do that. It's really interesting. So I'll start here. I'll present screen, and in the comments throughout, like I said, let me know what you think, and we'll start it up here, go through it. So you guys should see on the screen right now, trending now picks. I'm going to start with college football. This is Hard Rock Bets website, main homepage once you log in. And the college football games, as many know, I'm recording this the morning of the Notre Dame Penn State game, which is today at 6:30 Central. I'm on Central time. So all my times kind of revert to that. Don't get confused by that. But anyways, and this can live always and forever. Remember, what I'm sharing with you is the knowledge of how to identify lines, etc., over unders. You've heard that term before, what it all means. So when you hear the word, first of all, betting line, that means what the definition, if you want to call it, is, where the line is, right? If Notre Dame was playing University of Chattanooga, well, there's going to be a way different line for that than there is Notre Dame Penn State. You know what I mean? So the spread, what that means is, spread means how many points a team is favored and or is the underdog for that game for. So with the Notre Dame Penn State game, the spread right now says, and I'm going to tell you how this is defined, But the spread right now is minus 1.5 Notre Dame. And then the return on that is minus 110. So what that means is, hey, if you pick Notre Dame to win this game and you bet $1, you're going to make 91 cents. Does that make sense? Not, no pun intended. I'm sorry. But basically, you don't make $1 on the dollar because Notre Dame is slightly favored, right? So in the way that the money people have bet on this game, like, because all these sites independently track like where the bets are being placed. That's how this line, we've used that term, is defined. So Notre Dame -1.5 means Notre Dame. When you see the minus, that means favored. Probability is there's more of a chance that it will happen than won't, or people are thinking or betting like, right? So people are the line is -1.5, meaning that's about where people think Notre Dame is going to land against Penn State, aka win the game by roughly 1.5 points. So as a bettor, if you are interested in taking this bet, if you're supremely confident in Notre Dame and you think Notre Dame's going to win by 20 points, well, this is a bet you would probably want to make, right? Because you would see this as a big return bet. Penn State on the flip side is plus 1.5. So this is pretty much a toss-up game, right? Like this is like going to be a very close contest. So that's why like these are like, you see the Ohio State Texas game here, that's a little more separation. Like this game, Ohio State is, this minus means favored, but to win by 6 or more than 6 points. Sorry. And Texas is an underdog by 6 points. So for example, like with the Texas game here, right? If I click on the Texas game and a +6, and I'm just doing $1 because that's what's easiest here. If I bet $1, same thing, $1.91, because what it's saying is -110 here, right? Is how much return you would get for betting that $1. So that's how the spreads work. And there's technicalities, like I said, I'm not going to get into it, but a lot of these websites, you can like buy points to adjust your own spread or whatever if you're supremely confident. I'm not going to get into that. I just want to keep it very baseline. The main 3 categories, guys, that you'll see and the majority of people focus on with betting are these 3 right here: the point spread, the total points for the game, and the winner of the game, also known as the money line, which I like. When I do the free betting, I like doing the money line. I don't really get into the nuances hardly ever of like spread. Unless I know a team very well, I'm supremely confident on a team, and I feel like that team is being undervalued, I go win or loser. So those are more fun to me too. Because it's just, you're simply rooting. You're not rooting for, it's weird, right? Like if Texas were to win the game by like 3 points, you're like, and you wanted Texas to win, then if you do the spread, you like need them to win by 6 points. So you're like rooting for a game within a game. I don't know. To me, it's just not as fun. And this is where, if you watched it, it's cool. I don't know if he still does it, but Scott Van Pelt on ESPN has like a late night segment. And he'll go into like all these games and like the different bets and everything and what they were for people going into the game, and how funny things at the end of games happen to just like destroy these bets. Like a team was supposed to like win, and then the player just decides to take a knee at the 1 yard line. So they didn't win by X amount of points. So the teams that picked them, or the people that picked them, didn't win. Right. And like I said, I would mention how these lines are defined, how these numbers are defined. That's by Vegas. They initially, when things come out, and they do the same with Heisman Trophy odds preseason, NFL MVP odds, etc., and it'll be live, ongoing, like week over week, game over game, live betting as the money comes in. But they will set an initial line. from that, the way that the line, the bets, the odds, we'll say, are adjusted is by where the money is coming in, like I said. So all of the users for Hard Rock Bets, right? They don't weigh, or Hard Rock Bets, these, what your numbers, these are seeing, they do not take into account what bets have come in on FanDuel, what bets have come in, and MGM, I think, is another service, what bets have come in on Prize Picks for winner, loser, or point spread for Notre Dame, Penn State. So I'm not going to go on another one, but I guarantee if you go on another site, you may see Notre Dame favored by 2 points, Penn State underdog plus 2 points instead of 1.5, just because of the users on that site and where the money comes in. Does that make sense? Now, like collectively, a lot of these big time sports bettors will have access to multiple. So they're going to inevitably take what they feel are the best odds for them. And therefore, that's why you usually do not see a huge variation beyond, if we're talking points, a half point to a full point difference, depending on the service. So you don't worry about like, well, maybe I'm not getting the most bang for my buck, so to speak, using Hard Rock. Maybe Hard Rock is shafting me a little bit. It's not like that because of these users, if that makes sense. Like pretty much everybody listens to the same shows. We all have the same strategies, and it splits 50-50 anyways. So, that's just kind of how it lays out. So that's what I found fascinating. I learned how it worked years ago listening to Paul Feinbaum's show, actually, because I didn't know how these lines were determined. And it's not just like, oh, random. Like Vegas has a strategy. They look at analytics and stuff and say, and Vegas is usually like very accurate. Like this is what we're going to open the line at, right? And then from there, wherever the money comes in, that's where the line is going to adjust. And you'll see some that adjust pretty heavily as it goes on. Okay, so the next one is the total. This is just total points for the game. Pretty fun, pretty simple, right? O insinuates, do you think the game is going to score over 45 points? U, do you think the game is going to score under 45 points? Mind you, this has no correlation to the team. That's where you can sometimes get confused saying, is this saying that it says Notre Dame is going to score over 45 points? Is this saying that Penn State is going to score under 45? No. What this category is saying is that the game itself as a whole, Penn State and Notre Dame combined, will either score over 45 or under 45. So if you think it's a high scoring game, bet the over. If you think it's a low scoring game, bet the under. If it is a 45 point game, literally, and you bet 45, you bet on this under or over either category, you do not win the money. So it becomes a push, and the push goes to the dealer, I believe. Yes. So, which would be the service, Hard Rock Bets in this case. So you'll click it, and I'm going to explain parlays too. You've heard that word. You probably see that word on the screen. I'll explain that in a bit. But all these services too, by the way, if you start clicking, like you'll see, I click off and my betting slip, it calls it a bet slip. Things that you have, like if you click multiple, it'll add multiple. You can remove all and then restart it. So just be mindful of that. All these services have that to like clear, make sure you're betting on what you think you're betting on. So if I wanted over 45, I click it, and it's actually the same odds here, minus 110. So you bet $1 and you get 91 cents if you win that. So then you would have, if you won that, if there was like 57 point score, you would have $1.91 in your account, not bank account necessarily, your account with Hard Rock Bets, and then you cash in or cash out. Okay. The winner of the game. This is, like I said, this is also known as moneyline. You may see it called moneyline. You usually do, actually, on other services. So to win the game, straight up, this doesn't matter, guys. This is not spread, right? This is straight up win or loser. Notre Dame could win by 27. They could win by 2. If Notre Dame wins, they could win by 1. If Notre Dame wins, you win at this rate, minus 120. So I'll give you a second to guess what the math on this would be and how much it would pay out if you were to bet $1. But now I'll put it in, if you were to bet $1, 83 cents. So roughly, I don't know the why behind it. Seems like to me that should be 80 cents. It's not bad, 3 more cents, right? But like you'll get that if Notre Dame was to win the game. Now, people will look at this and say, man, well, that's unfair. They won by 35. And like, I picked them to win, but I did the money line, but like, because they won by 35, I get the same amount of payout as I did if they won by 2. Yes, that's where the point spread value is more, right? Because this is a 110. So we looked at it like, if this is where, if you think Notre Dame is going to win by 35, like, okay, cool. Now this is on a dollar bet, right? Like there's much higher like return bets here. I'm just keeping it basic so we can math easily here. There's what 8 more cents made if Notre Dame wins, because you hedged a bet, right? Kinda. You didn't say, well, Notre Dame's going to win by 1. Well, shoot, if you pick this and Notre Dame wins by 1, you don't win this, right? Because they had to win by at least 1.5, aka 2 points. That's where the value in this comes in. If Notre Dame does win by 1, yeah, you make less money in cents if you bet $1, right? You make 83 cents instead of 91 cents, but there's a value in that for some people, right? Depending on the given game. So that's how that goes. And then on the flip side here, Penn State, they are plus 100. And that correlates with the point spread. Usually, guys, you will see this correlate. Very rarely, but it's interesting. You'll actually see like games that are close like this, which many people, when you hear the word it's a pick'em, you'll hear podcasters and stuff say, oh, the game's pretty much a pick'em. That's what a game like this is, because the line, the odds, right, are so close. It makes it like pretty much a win-lose, a pick'em. You will sometimes see the odds on the games that are close, the pick'em games, we'll call them, differ. Like the Penn State maybe +1 here, just for example, and then maybe -1 here, just for example, because again, it's where the money from the individual bettors comes in. So sometimes that can be slightly wonky. Just understand the why behind it is simply where the bettors are placing their money. So if 85 people, this is obviously a smaller number that bet on this game. I'm sure Hard Rock exists for a reason. But if 85 people bet on the spread and then 2 people bet on the winner only for some odd reason, then that could weigh, depending on who they pick to win, that could mean this is kind of out of whack with that and doesn't totally align. In this case, it does, right? Both are saying that, yeah, it's pretty much a pick 'em, but Penn State is a slight underdog, so you would actually make slightly more picking them either way, whether it was a point spread or a winner, if that makes sense. So if I bet $1, I win $1. My total payout would be 2, so I get my $1 back and I win another $1 on top, hence the 100, right? Pretty straightforward. Going to the money line or winner category is Hard Rock steams it, but money line in Ohio State and Texas, this pretty much correlates as well, right? -6. So the spread is saying Ohio State is a 6-point favorite. You'll hear that term too, X-point favorite. That's what this means. That's referring to the spread. And when you see that on ESPN or other places, they'll show on their bottom line the matchup, and then in parentheses, they'll put a number like -1.5, -6, +3. That's what this is referencing, the spread on the game, which is what really the benchmark for a lot of people on like who the favorite is to win the game. And additionally, not just who the experts, so to speak, think are going to win the game, but how much they're going to win the game by, how heavy of a favorite they are. Like I said, if Notre Dame was playing Chattanooga, that's where you're going to see, well, Notre Dame's probably a 42-point favorite, -42, right? So, like, think about that. You would have to, guys, if Notre Dame, I'll give you a second to think about the answer here, and I'll tell you. But if Notre Dame was a 42-point favorite against Chattanooga, so the spread, that means, would be -42, how much money would you need to bet because this is going to be the inverse, right? You're not going to bet $1 and make hardly anything because they're a 42-point favorite. So like, how much money would you need to bet to make $1 if, let me rephrase that. So if you bet $1, Notre Dame would have to win the game by 42 points for you to make that $1, which is crazy. That's bets that like usually people will make bets on this. You'll see this stuff a lot, but like games like that, like really. So, but then the inverse bet is like for the winner of the game, right? They're probably, sometimes you'll see games like that. Like that game most likely wouldn't even have a money line or winner bet just because Notre Dame is such a big favorite in that game that the service Hard Rock Bets would be like, yeah, we're not going to like put anything there because basically we're just giving away money. Like if somebody bet $2,000 on Notre Dame to win, they're probably going to win like $10 off of that. I don't know how it will break down, right? But like they'll win something off of that. But the odds are so against Hard Rock Bets to do that, like that they just null and void and they don't give it. You know what I mean? Notre Dame, Northern Illinois actually would be a good example of that, where I guarantee going into that game, there probably was not a betting line on that game or money line bet that, or could have not been. If it was, and let's say that like Notre Dame probably was favored by like 35 points, right? Going, I don't know, but they probably were going in that game. So minus 35 Notre Dame wins that game or loses that game. Can you imagine if you were to bet, let's say $2,000 on that game to win, let's say $15 for Notre Dame to win, and Notre Dame loses that game, you just lost $2,000 because Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois. Hard Rock Bets made $2,000 on you. That's crazy. That's why you don't do that stuff usually. But anyways, back to Ohio State and Texas. So that you see the spread line here, the minus 110, and this is where you will see more return on the money line, the winners, because it's not just a straight up like winner loser like a pick 'em, right? This is a little more defined. If you like Texas, I really do, guys. Like, the point of this is not to give gambling advice, but I like Texas. It's basically a home field advantage. I know they may delay the game. There's weather going on. They're hoping it's cleared out. It's kind of the forecast has improved, but like Ohio State's a favorite here. I say I like Texas, the variable here, because I like Ohio State to win it all. But then like this game, I'm like, man, it's a home game for Texas. It's in Dallas. So anyways, plus 185. So if you wanted to pick the Longhorns, right, in this game, and you were to bet $1, I'm going to give you a second to guess how much you would make on the payout here, what that payout's going to say. Okay, I'm going to put it in. Correct. $1.85. It's pretty easy math, right? You put the decimal right after the 1.85 if it's a plus, right? Now, I'm not good enough at math to do the math on the minus, but if you wanted to put money line on Ohio State, it's minus 240. So I will say, I'll give a second to think about this as well. If you bet $1 on this, you're going to make less than $1 payout in return because Ohio State is a favorite, so to speak, to win this game. And the line says that, minus 240, right? So now I'm going to put in $1. You would make 42 cents on the dollar is what this is saying. So come out with 42 cents won if Ohio State wins this game because they are a favorite to win the game. So if you looked at this and you said, well, I want to make at least $1 to win, if Ohio State wins, you would have to bet like $2.15 roughly. You see what I mean? 210 gets you to 98 cents return. Or like 98, that's actually 88. So let's do 225. Yeah. So that's like 98 cents then, 92 cents. You see what I mean? So the lines are different. I'm going to throw a big number on this. Just mathing. Let's put $1,000 in here. I know I've been doing $1 with you guys, but now that we're a little more comfortable, probably on how the bets work, we'll see how it adjusts. So right now it says $1. I'm going to put 3 zeros. So now it's saying if you bet $1,000 on Texas, you would make, that would be your total payout. So your profit would be $1,850, which is a pretty nice payday. That's a few PlayStation 5s. So that's nice. But again, they're the underdog, right? Like, that's college football, Ohio State, Texas. And you're looking at this game, like, Ohio State's playing some serious ball right now in these playoffs. So anyways, NFL playoffs, secondary are starting up. I'm not going to go into these as much because now we have a basis and an understanding, which was the goal of this, on how to understand the lines. I think we've done that with the 2 college games, but NFL as well, right? You can do this for preseason, regular season, postseason. I make playful tweets all the time. Like, you should not bet on bowl games and NFL preseason games. They are one and the same. It's backups on backups. It's guys trying to make the roster in the NFL. Like, what are you doing when the starting quarterback's not even playing and they're playing like the third string that's just trying to make the team? Like, people do it. People do it. I think the only, like, there's more analytics around like preseason now with NFL, which is neat. Like, the Ravens, I think, are the team that's won an exorbitant amount under John Harbaugh preseason games. Like, they value it differently than certain teams do. There used to be betting odds out there, but like no analytics and rhyme or reason really behind the lines. So I guess, like, in defense of NFL preseason, it's a little more defined, something I would never do. Because you simply don't know. And guys are just tinkering. They're not showing their full playbooks, their full schemes. They're just, testing out players, seeing who should make the team, putting them in different situations and testing out some of their plays without showing it all. There's too many variables. But anyways, so I'll go to, let's find like just a highlighted matchup. This, I guess it's the playoffs, so they're all highlighted. We'll do Bills Broncos. That's pretty big time. Bo Nix is playing really well. That's my logic without even looking at these numbers, just real quick off head. The game's in Buffalo. Buffalo's had a great regular season. The Broncos are kind of a team on the rise. Okay, now I look at this. Broncos are +9. So if what this is saying, this may be a good bet for you if you're into this, like, because NFL games we know are typically close, especially playoff games. This is the second largest point differential margin spread of any NFL playoff wildcard game. The other one is the Steelers-Ravens, +9.5 for the Steelers. So both these games, Broncos and Steelers, are saying, so for the Broncos-Bills, it's in Buffalo. But if the Broncos lose by less than 9 points, because they're 9-point underdogs, as that plus was saying, then, and you were to bet $1, you would make 91 cents. There we go, right? That's pretty good if you're moderately confident. But again, you're rooting for the points, right? So even if like you're a Broncos fan or not a Broncos fan and just invested in the game, like, I would want to go into games saying win or lose. Are you going to win or lose? Like, not like, oh, the Broncos lost by 3, but that's still really good. Like, I won, so they won. Like, no, they didn't win. Like, it's different. People do this for money more than fun in that rush. So I get it. Now, on the counter, are you confident that the Bills are going to win by more than 9 points? A playoff game when the Broncos are playing very well right now. Money line's interesting too. Like, obviously with those differentials, you do get pretty big return on those. So if the Broncos were to win the game, you bet $1, you win $3.50. Again, that decimal, put it right after that first number, which is the 3 in this case. Bills are heavy favorites, right? 9-point favorites. So if you were to bet on the Bills, 22 cents if you bet $1. So and if you do like 100, that's $22 basically, right? So that's how that stuff works. I will say parlays too. I'll explain really quick. I'm about at a half hour here, so appreciate everybody hopping on. And comment too, out of the 3 that I shared, spread, total, winner. What do you like most? What do you usually bet with? Does it depend on the game? What's your biggest winning? What's your biggest loss? If you want to share that, nobody's judging. This is just, it's sports. It's fun, and daily too. Like, if you can do this year round, like I said, they got, every service has multiple sports. So like basketball's on here, NBA, soccer, to table tennis, NHL. So parlays, right? Parlays means more than one bet. And what betting more than once does is that because multiple things need to happen, it actually multiplies your winnings by a certain percentage. It maths it. The math is very confusing. I'm not going to begin to try to explain it, even if you just do a parlay with 2 different picks, so multiple, right? Like 2 games instead of 5 or 6. Some people do that. Now, the more things that you bet in a parlay, the higher that percentage winning will get, right? So I'll just do one really quick here. I'll pick some winners and losers on the money line to be just really basic with it. Packers, I'll pick them to win. The Bills, I'll pick them to win. The Ravens, I'll pick them to win. And I'll pick a college game too. Let's go to, so see how, like, as I picked them, it added them. Now I have 3 bets ongoing. I haven't placed the bet yet, but it's saying you have a 3-bet parlay, multiple, right? What this is also saying, what a parlay is saying all of these things need to happen in order for me to win this bet. If the Packers win, the Bills win, but the Ravens lose, I lose. I do not win even if I do a parlay with like 10 things and 9 of them happen, 8 of them happen, and 1 or 2 don't. The site gets the money, the service gets the money. Hard Rock Bets will get the money. So that's where it's a risk for people, right? Like if you're confident on the Packers, more so, way more than the Bills and the Ravens, just in theory, well, then maybe you don't want to do the parlay. Maybe you just want to spend all that money on the Packers, more money on the Packers, or the money you were going to spend anyways, just on the Packers. You see what I mean? And then you can also take the approach of, okay, they start at different times. So if I win the money on the Packers game, which is early, I don't know the times for these. I'm just theorizing. Well, the times are right here, right? So if I win the game on the Broncos Bills, then I'll use that money and bet more on the Packers, whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? But parlays are parlays. So it kind of keeps people in tune the whole day. If your early game, so to speak, if you have one before other ones hits, then it keeps you invested in the other games more so if that's your style. So then let's say I think that Notre Dame is going to win the college game and Texas is going to win that game. So now we got a parlay of 5 picks, right? If I bet $1, this is where I'm not even going to begin to math it, right? But if all 5 of these things happen, right? Like if, for example, if Texas beat Ohio State, we already placed that bet, right? So we know that we would make $1.85 profit if we picked that singular bet, right? Texas to beat Ohio State. Now, though, we've added 4 more different variable bets with different odds on top of that. We're saying that the combination of all 5 of these things, some underdogs, some favorites, are going to win. If we bet $1 on that, our winnings is now $20.51 profit, $21.51 total payout. It adds that dollar on top that we put in initially, right? And those are the actual odds there as I'm highlighting, 0.2051. It's pretty enticing, right? To now you look at it and you're like, yeah, man, I'm confident on Texas. I know they're going to win, but do I risk it? Right? Like, because if you bet on all these individually with just $1, you already know, like, you're not going to, this is not the same return. If you were to bet on $1 on Notre Dame, you're winning 80 cents roughly. $1 on the Packers, you're winning $1.85. The Bills, you're winning 22 cents. We did. And the Ravens are probably winning like 15 cents. That's a total. If all 5 of those things happening, you did individual bets, that's a total like $1.50 maybe, you know? So this is you telling Hard Rocks, I'm going all in on this, all together, all or nothing, but it's a higher return for you if they all happen. And obviously for the service, it makes sense because there's a lower chance that those all will happen. That's going to conclude it pretty much. I am going to mention really quick other wagers. I'm not going to go into it, but you've heard of the term player props before. You can also do that. Go into like how many touchdowns you think a player is going to score, who's going to score the touchdown, how many yards a player is going to get. That's very nuanced. So that's not what this episode is for. There are like gambling experts, if you want to call it that, like on social media, podcasts that go over it, etc. And you can get into all that if you want to. My goal of this was just to give the novices like myself and understand at one time a base level understanding of how and why you're seeing numbers that are numbers on the TV for these games, right? So I hope that was accomplished in this episode. And also one cool thing that's really base level that you can't really go into right now because there is not a season that's about to start, but they do have like how many games will a team win or lose going into the year. So for example, I remember preseason the Oklahoma Sooners in football had a line of 7.5, which means that depending on the service, I think FanDuel was the one cited, but like I said, it's typically going to be the same. So Vegas thought that Oklahoma would win at least 8 games. And if they won or 7, they would win less than 8 games. That's why they were putting the line at 7.5. If you thought Oklahoma was going to win more than 8 games, you took that bet. And you did not win that bet. If you bet on that, it was probably like $1 for dollar. And Vanderbilt also is another one that I just happen to remember. They were a 2.5 win total. So if you bet Vanderbilt to win more than 2.5 games, so 3 or more, you crush that because they won 6. 2 years ago, I think their total was like 3.5. They finished 2-10, I think, or something abysmal. So, but that's how the lines work. You could do player props, like I said, Heisman Trophy preseason, NFL MVP preseason. But the premise is here, right? Spread, total, winner. So have fun with it, guys. And there is free services out there. You can just Google like bets, and there's like, like free streak for cash type games. But hope everybody enjoyed the episode. Put in your comments what you think about it. And again, my handle is there at Pigskin PD, Peter Bartel. Subscribe to the channel, like it if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it. Curate your content, right? So everybody have a good day.